James Bennet gazed at the bridesmaid from across the reception hall, their eyes meeting in a charged instant that felt as though it suspended time itself. Even in his sharp black tuxedo, which set him apart in the quaint town of Oak Ridge, it was her mere presence that left him feeling disoriented. "You're staring, Mr. Big City?" Emma Collins remarked, gliding toward him with a champagne flute elegantly poised in her hand. "Is there an allure to small-town bridesmaids that captivates affluent individuals like you?" James cleared his throat, curious about how Michael managed to persuade someone like you to participate in his wedding. "Someone like me?" Emma arched an eyebrow, the delicate pink of her bridesmaid dress shimmering in the light. "Someone who obviously believes I'm the root of all the world's problems." James responded with a wry smile. "Well, when you leave your hometown for 15 years and come back wearing designer shoes that cost more than a month's rent here, you invite certain assumptions." The rehearsal dinner for Michael and Sarah's wedding buzzed around them, but James couldn't concentrate on anything except the fiery bridesmaid who challenged him with every word. "You don't know the first thing about me," James replied. "I have sufficient knowledge," Emma responded. "Michael shared stories about your childhood, about the bond you both had. Then success beckoned and you disappeared. Now you arrive with your wealth to take on the role of best man for a weekend, only to vanish once more. Individuals are not mere items to be chosen and discarded at will, Mr. Bennet." James experienced the sharp impact of her words. He never anticipated that coming back to Oak Ridge would evoke such emotions. At 35, he had crafted his real estate development company from the ground up, accumulating more wealth than anyone in this town could fathom. Yet, as he stood before this woman, an undeniable sense of needing to prove himself washed over him. "Achieving one's goals demands sacrifices," he remarked, his tone subdued. "But was it truly worth it?" Emma inquired, a spark of authentic curiosity piercing her earlier animosity. Just as James was about to respond, Michael came over and gave him a hearty slap on the back. "At last, my two favorite people are coming together. Emma has been Sarah's best friend since kindergarten. And James here. Oh, the mischief we stirred up in our childhood." "I can picture it," Emma replied, her smile strained. "James, I must borrow you for a toast," Michael said, drawing him away. Later that evening, James discovered Michael alone on the hotel's terrace. "Glad to see you again, my friend," Michael remarked, tapping his beer bottle against James's whiskey glass. "It's nice to be back," James said, though it was a stretch. "But it seems some of the locals aren't exactly eager to greet me." Michael chuckled. "Emma looks out for me, but she's also the most authentic person I know. She believes I've compromised my values. It's just that she prioritizes different things." "Speaking of which," Michael hesitated, "I might need to cancel the honeymoon. Mom's medical bills after her heart surgery." "What? No way. I can help." Michael shook his head in disbelief. "I didn't share this for financial gain, James. I understand, but there are matters that money cannot resolve," Michael said softly. "But having my best friend back, that helps." Later, as he made his way to his room, James caught the sound of a child's cries resonating through the lobby. Turning the corner, he spotted Emma kneeling beside a small boy, perhaps 5 years old, with tears cascading down his cheeks. "It's all right, my friend," she was saying. "We'll find your mom, I promise." The softness in her voice halted James in his tracks. She addressed the boy with an innate kindness, gently wiping his tears and holding his hand. "I'm scared," the boy stammered. "I understand. However, courage doesn't imply the absence of fear. It means taking action despite your fears," Emma remarked, her smile illuminating her features. James observed her as she engaged with the hotel staff, soothing the boy until a worried mother rushed in. The woman expressed her gratitude to Emma before quickly taking her child away. It was only then that Emma became aware of James observing her. A change flickered across her face, a hint of embarrassment, maybe, at being seen in a moment of openness. "That was impressive," James remarked as she drew near. "It's all in a day's work for me. I'm a pediatric nurse." She moved past him but paused. The kids I care for are battling cancer and other critical conditions. They show me the essence of what truly counts. Money doesn't comfort a scared child at 3 in the morning, Mr. Bennett. People do. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving James to stare after her, suddenly conscious of a void he had been harboring for years, one that his achievements had never managed to fill. For the first time since arriving in Oak Ridge, James pondered whether his return was more than merely fulfilling a promise to an old friend. Maybe it marked the start of rediscovering something he hadn't known was missing. "You're holding it wrong," Emma remarked, gently taking the garland from James's hands the following morning. In the church hall, they busily arranged the decorations for the wedding set to take place tomorrow. "Is there a wrong way to hold garland?" James inquired, observing her deft fingers at work. "There's a wrong way to do most things," Emma responded, though her tone was softer than it had been the night before. Sarah had tasked them with the decoration, leaving them in solitude amidst mounds of flowers and ribbons. James, who typically navigated the complexities of million-dollar negotiations, found himself feeling unexpectedly anxious about arranging centerpieces. "Ah, the renowned son of Oak Ridge makes its appearance once more," Emma remarked, shattering the quiet between them. "What is the sensation like?" "It's smaller than I recalled," James confessed, though some aspects have shifted, such as the potential closure of the community center and the difficulties faced by the Main Street businesses. Her voice carried a hint of challenge, yet there was curiosity as well. "I observed that." "What transpired?" Emma passed him the scissors. "Cut these ribbons while I delve into the captivating economics of rural America." For the next hour, as they toiled together, Emma shared the story of Oak Ridge's hardships. The factory shut down, the exodus of youth, the community center facing budget cuts that jeopardized vital services. "This town molded you, laid the groundwork for your achievements," Emma remarked, "yet you never glanced back to witness the aftermath of your departure." James felt the urge to stand up for himself, yet found himself unable to do so. "Show me," he said instead. Once they completed the decorating, Emma took James for a drive around Oak Ridge in her trusty old Honda. They moved past the closed factory, the faltering Main Street, and finally arrived at the community center. Within its walls, children engaged in a game of basketball while seniors convened for a lunch program. In one corner, a makeshift health clinic was in operation. "This is my volunteer spot when I'm not at the hospital," Emma shared. "Sarah runs youth programs here. It's the heart of Oak Ridge." A small boy wearing a baseball cap noticed Emma and dashed over. "Miss Emma, did you happen to bring any stickers today?" "Not today, Lucas. But I brought someone special instead." She turned to James. "This is Mr. Bennett. He also spent his childhood here." Lucas glanced at James's luxurious watch. "Do you possess wealth?" "Lucas," Emma scolded. James crouched down. "I have a solid position. What about you? What do you want to be?" "A doctor like Miss Emma, so I can help kids like me," the boy replied, removing his cap to unveil a bald head, the unmistakable mark of chemotherapy. James experienced a constriction in his chest. "That's a good plan." Later, Emma took the wheel and drove James by his childhood home, which now belonged to new owners. They found themselves at the town's historic gazebo in the Central Park. "I had my first kiss here," James confessed, his fingers gliding over the weathered railing. "I assume you're Lisa Thornton?" Emma inquired, a knowing smile playing on her lips. James appeared taken aback. "How did you know?" "Sarah and I relocated here during our 5th grade year. You were the talk of the town, the determined youth everyone anticipated would venture beyond these familiar streets one day." Emma perched on the steps of the gazebo. Lisa recounted that kiss to anyone who would listen for years. "And what about you? Have you always dreamed of being a nurse?" Emma's expression softened. "My brother battled leukemia during our childhood. The nurses were a beacon of hope during our darkest hours." "Is he?" "He's doing well now, 29 and teaching in Chicago." She studied James with renewed attention. "And what about you?" Is the millionaire businessman everything young James envisioned? James paused. The success, but the emptiness wasn't in the blueprint. The sincerity in his tone caught them both off guard. That evening, after assisting Sarah with the final touches for the wedding, James secretly organized the payment for Michael and Sarah's honeymoon. He instructed the travel agency to announce that a special promotion had taken place. That night's bachelor party was straightforward. Just Michael, James, and a handful of local friends enjoying drinks at the only bar in Oak Ridge. To Michael, James raised his glass in a toast. The most intelligent among us. You discovered what truly counts. On that note, Michael remarked when they had a brief moment to themselves, I noticed you with Emma earlier. She was merely giving me a tour. She doesn't merely do anything, James. She's extraordinary. She has certainly expressed her opinion about me. Michael chuckled. Do you realize what your issue is? You're accustomed to people being awed by your wealth. Emma's not swayed by anything except your true self. Later, as they strolled back to the hotel, James and Emma found themselves in solitude, having offered to transport the wedding gifts Michael had received. The evening air was crisp, with stars shining brightly, a sight rarely seen amidst the city's glow. Upon arriving at the gazebo, Emma came to a halt. Let's take the shortcut through the park. It'll save us time. They placed their packages on the gazebo bench. The moonlight streamed through the intricately designed roof, creating delicate patterns that danced across Emma's face. In that brief silence, words eluded them both. I misjudged you, Emma admitted at last. Not entirely, but to some extent. That's quite the compliment, James grinned. Don't let it go to your head. Yet, in spite of her remark, Emma moved in closer. James was inexplicably captivated by her, this woman who questioned every aspect of the life he had constructed. As he bent closer to her, she remained still, welcoming the moment. Their lips touched gently at first, then with increasing fervor. For a fleeting instant, all else faded into oblivion. His enterprise, her uncertainties, the countless years he had been absent. Then Emma took a step back, her fingers grazing her lips. This is a mistake, she said. You're leaving in 2 days. Back to your real life. What if I... Don't say things you don't mean, Emma interrupted. Oak Ridge is a nostalgic weekend for you, not your future. She gathered the packages, heading across the park, leaving James standing in the gazebo, watching her walk away and wondering, for the first time in years, if the future he had planned was actually the one he wanted. The day of Michael and Sarah's wedding began with a radiant and clear sky. James stood before the mirror, meticulously adjusting his tie, the folded speech for his best man tucked neatly in his pocket. From his vantage point by the window, he observed the guests making their way to the church situated across the street. His phone vibrated with notifications from the office downtown, pressing contracts, unresolved deals, issues that only he had the expertise to address. For the first time, he muted it without a word. In the bridal suite, Emma assisted Sarah as she adorned her with the delicate veil. You look perfect, she said, fighting back tears. What about you? What did Sarah inquire? That kiss with James that you're acting like never took place. Emma's hands went still. Who informed you? Michael spotted you as he entered the park. He's quite excited, just so you know. There's really no reason for excitement, Emma countered. He's heading out tomorrow. Sarah pivoted to look at her friend. Perhaps, but I've never witnessed you gaze at anyone the way you did at him yesterday. The ceremony commenced at 11. James stood next to Michael at the altar, yet his gaze continually drifted toward Emma on the opposite side. She donned a delicate pink dress that captured the light streaming through the stained glass windows, transforming her into a vision of the otherworldly. When she noticed his gaze upon her, she held his stare. Once Michael and Sarah said their vows, the festivities transitioned to the beautifully adorned hall. James received congratulations from those who recalled him as a child, with many expressing astonishment that he had chosen to come back. As dinner progressed, the time for his best man's speech drew near. James rose, gently tapping his glass. Silence enveloped the room. I've known Michael Wilson since we were 5 years old, James began. We built tree houses, found ourselves in trouble, and envisioned our futures. As I pursued achievement in far-off locations, Michael discovered it in the connections and surroundings that hold the greatest significance. His gaze locked onto Emma's from across the room. This weekend, observing Michael and Sarah has brought to mind the true essence of wealth. It transcends mere bank accounts or business transactions. James inhaled deeply. This leads me to an exciting announcement. First, Michael and Sarah, your honeymoon to Hawaii has been upgraded to the presidential suite. Gasps and applause filled the room as Michael stared at him in disbelief. But more importantly, James continued once the noise subsided, I'm not leaving tomorrow after all. Bennett Development is opening a branch office here in Oak Ridge. The room fell into a hush. My first project? I've purchased the community center building. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Not to demolish it, but to restore it. We must develop cost-effective areas for our local enterprises, enhance the clinic, and guarantee it continues to be the core of our community. The audience buzzed with astonished chatter. James looked for Emma, but her chair was vacant. Through the windows, he noticed a flash of pink as she hurriedly made her way from the hall. James discovered her by the lake where they had strolled the day before. She gazed at the water, her arms encircling herself in a protective embrace. Fleeing from my words implies you weren't fond of them, he remarked, stepping forward with care. What are you up to, James? She inquired without looking back. Implementing adjustments. Good ones, I thought. Is this about last night? Our kiss. Now she faced him, eyes blazing. Because I don't need extravagant displays or a wealthy hero coming in to dazzle me. Is that really your perspective on this? What more is there? It has been 15 years since you left. Out of the blue, after just a single day of observing our way of life, you're packing up and investing in properties. James moved in closer. This isn't about you. Not completely. Then what is it? Being present. Observing Michael's journey. Witnessing your contributions at the hospital and community center. It dawned on me that my achievements seem empty. I create opulent developments that serve no real purpose, while communities like this one are in dire need. So we're your philanthropic endeavor now, Emma countered. No, you're my wake-up call. James ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I'm not conveying this clearly. Yesterday, when Lucas expressed his desire to become a doctor to assist children like himself, I came to the realization that I have never utilized my resources in such a significant way. Emma's expression softened slightly. You can't purchase significance, James. I understand. However, I can leverage my resources to champion causes that are significant. The community center is important. This town matters. He took a moment to reflect. You are significant. Our acquaintance has only spanned 2 days. And you've questioned everything I believed I desired. Emma shook her head. This is absurd. Your existence unfolds within the urban landscape. Some sections are. Yet, there's nothing stopping me from creating something here as well. James grasped her hand. At least stay a while to ensure I don't screw it up. A smile danced at the corner of Emma's mouth. Someone ought to keep an eye on you. That's precisely what I was thinking. As they strolled back toward the reception, Michael and Sarah appeared from the hall, prepared to depart for their honeymoon. What did you do? Michael insisted, enveloping James in a warm embrace. The presidential suite? Relish it. You deserve it, Sarah said as she embraced Emma. Make things right with him, she whispered. He gazes at you the way Michael gazes at me. As the newlyweds departed amidst a cascade of rice and jubilant cheers, James and Emma stood together, not making contact but profoundly aware of one another. I remain uncertain about your intentions, Emma said softly. Fair enough, James replied. I'll just have to stick around long enough to prove them. He glanced back at the celebrating crowd and then at the town beyond, feeling a sensation he hadn't encountered in years. A sense of possibility that had nothing to do with profit margins or business expansion. For the first time since departing Oak Ridge, He sensed that he might finally be in the right place. 3 weeks post-wedding, James found himself in the former manager's office at the community center, now repurposed as his makeshift workspace. Plans sprawled across the desk as he conversed on his phone. "I appreciate the board's concerns, David, but I'm not walking away from the Chicago project. I'm broadening our vision." He took in his business partner's objections. "The Oak Ridge development isn't solely focused on quick profits. It's about long-term growth and investing in the community." A knock interrupted him. Emma lingered in the doorway, clad in her hospital scrubs. "I'll call you back," James told David, ending the call. "Hey, is this a bad time? What do you think?" Emma inquired. "Just in time. Save me from having to explain community-centered development to those who gauge success by quarterly profits." Emma grinned as she stepped into the office. In the weeks following the wedding, they had formed a tentative friendship. James immersed himself in community consultations regarding the center renovation, while Emma observed from a distance, her interest tinged with caution. "Sarah called from Hawaii," Emma remarked. "It seems that the presidential suite comes with a personal chef. Michael has put on 5 pounds. James chuckled. "That's great." He was rather thin to begin with. They inquired about us, what we are up to. A heavy stillness enveloped the room. The kiss they had exchanged prior to the wedding lingered in the air, unspoken. "And what did you tell them?" James inquired. "That you're unexpectedly adept at tuning into what people truly require, rather than forcing your metropolitan notions." "That's quite the compliment from Emma Collins," she said, rolling her eyes. "Just don't let it inflate your ego. I have a request to make." Emma shared that Lucas, the young man James encountered at the community center, had experienced complications from his treatment. He required specialized attention, which could only be found at a pediatric facility in the city. "His family can't afford it," she concluded. "I'm attempting to coordinate something through the hospital's charity program, but there's a waiting list." James nodded, already reaching for his phone. "What is his full name?" "James, you can't simply throw money at—" "I'm not," he raised a hand. "My college roommate holds the position of chief in pediatric oncology at City Medical. I'll make a call." That evening, James organized not just an appointment for Lucas with the specialist, but also arranged transportation for his family. He explicitly requested that his friend maintain the confidentiality of his involvement. The following day, as work commenced on the community center, James caught snippets of conversation between 2 local contractors. "Betty will eventually dismantle it," one remarked. "These developer types always have their schemes." "Let's give him a chance, Pete," the other countered. "At least he's seeking our opinions before making changes." James feigned ignorance, yet their words lingered in his mind. Building trust is a gradual process. Time slipped away. The renovation of the community center moved forward, focusing on the clinic area as a top priority. James divided his time between Oak Ridge and the city, managing his business while setting up the new office. Initially met with doubt, local businesses started reaching out to him regarding opportunities in the revamped building. He employed local residents from Oak Ridge whenever feasible for the construction projects. One evening, as James toiled away at the center, Emma unexpectedly showed up at his door once more. "Lucas has been approved for the treatment," she stated. "They typically don't act this quickly. His family is overjoyed." James maintained a composed demeanor. "That's wonderful news." Emma observed him intently. "Did you have no part in it?" "Patient confidentiality prevents me from commenting," he said, maintaining a serious expression. "You're a terrible liar, James Bennett. I know people. Making connections is what I do." Emma sat across from him. "Why were you hesitant to receive recognition?" James pondered his response. "You were spot on at the wedding. I refuse to be the wealthy individual who thinks money can fix everything. I aspire to create something enduring." Emma's demeanor softened. "You're not what I anticipated. Are you saying I'm not merely a cold-hearted capitalist?" The jury continues to deliberate on that matter. Yet, a smile graced her lips as she spoke. The upcoming weekend, the community center will hold a fundraiser to support its programs. James had intended to drop by for a short visit, yet he ended up engaging in conversation with the locals who now welcomed him personally, no longer seeing him merely as the wealthy developer. Emma materialized at his side during the event. "Sir, Barton is eager to present his concepts for the woodworking shop," she remarked, gesturing toward an older gentleman standing close by. "It seems I must attend to my responsibilities," James responded. Before moving away, he added, "Have dinner with me tomorrow?" Emma hesitated. "Is this a date, Bennett?" "Certainly," he replied instantly. The following evening, they made their way to a nearby town where James had found a quaint Italian restaurant. As they savored the pasta and wine, their dialogue unfolded effortlessly. Emma reflected on her patience and her brother residing in Chicago, while James recounted tales of his initial challenges in establishing his company. "What kept you away for such a long time?" "What did Emma inquire?" "From Oak Ridge, I suppose." James twirled pasta on his fork, deep in thought. "Initially, I was caught up in the grind, striving to achieve my goals. Then, I felt a sense of shame about returning until I had succeeded. Ultimately, I convinced myself that I was too significant to step back for a moment." He glanced upward. "Isn't it a rather disappointing progression?" "Truthful, really?" Emma extended her hand across the table, making a fleeting connection with his. "For what it's worth, I believe Michael missed you," yet he grasped the situation. "And you? Would you have comprehended?" Emma smiled. "I would have sought you out and insisted on answers." "I believe that," James chuckled. As James made his way back to Oak Ridge, he opted for the picturesque path that meandered alongside the lake. They strolled by the water's edge, enveloped in a serene quietude. "I'm still waiting for you to show your real capitalist side," Emma said, nudging his shoulder playfully. "To declare that you're opening a casino or something. Would it make a difference if I did?" Emma halted her steps. "Yes, because I'm beginning to feel something for you, and that frightens me." James turned to look at her. "I'm not leaving, Emma, until the work is complete, until the charm of small-town life begins to fade, until," he moved in closer. "I've never been less bored in my life." This time, when he kissed her, there was an undeniable certainty in their connection. The moonlight shimmered on the lake, enveloping them in a soft glow as the space between them diminished. "You did what?" Emma gazed at James from across her kitchen table a month later, her coffee mug suspended midair, lips poised but unmoving. "I requested the hospital board to review your proposal for the pediatric care center," James reiterated with composure. They were taken aback. "That wasn't your decision to make," Emma asserted, placing her mug down with a decisive thud. "I've dedicated 2 years to developing that proposal. It required additional investigation. More what? It was tucked away in your drawer. I simply brought it to the attention of those who could bring it to life." Emma leaned back from the table. Their relationship had evolved gradually since their initial date, yet instances like this highlighted the core differences in their outlooks on life. "You can't simply leverage your connections and wealth to expedite everything, James. Certain matters require patience. Do you appreciate our work?" James inquired softly. That brought her to a halt. "That's not fair." "Is it really?" "You're restraining yourself. Every time we get closer, you find reasons to create distance." Emma sighed, the energy of the argument fading away. "I'm doing my best, James, but you keep making these one-sided choices, like forwarding my proposal to the board, and it feels as if..." "As if what?" "It seems you doubt my ability to manage things on my own." James raked his fingers through his hair. "I was only trying to assist. I understand, but please ask before stepping in next time." Later that day, Emma was monitoring Lucas during his follow-up appointment when the chief of pediatrics came up to her. "Collins, do you have a moment?" "What did Dr. Winters inquire?" In her office, Dr. Winters disclosed that the board had not only examined Emma's proposal for the pediatric care center but also expressed a desire to incorporate it into the expansion of the community center's medical wing. How did the board even see my proposal? Emma inquired, though she was already aware. James Bennett submitted it. He made a compelling case for your qualifications to take charge of the project. Dr. Winters observed her closely. You weren't aware? We talked about it earlier today, Emma replied cautiously. As Emma drove to the community center, her feelings were a complex web of confusion and intensity. She was excited about her proposal, yet exasperated by James's approach. She discovered him in the main hall engaged in a conversation about lighting fixtures with the contractors. Can we talk? She asked, and his expression shifted to one of immediate concern. What's wrong? Dr. Winters just informed me that the board has approved my proposal, Emma said, guiding him outside to a more private setting for their conversation. Are you still upset? What do you think? James inquired with a hint of hesitation.
I'm confused.
You didn't mention they'd already approved it. I wanted it to come from them officially. James took her hands. Emma, your concepts are exceptional. You simply required someone to advocate for them in the appropriate spaces. But that's precisely what concerns me about our situation, Emma replied. Our worlds are so dissimilar. You shift landscapes with a single call, while I dedicate years to rallying support for a modest initiative. James's phone vibrated. He cast a quick look at it, his brow furrowing in concern. Significant? Emma inquired. David once more. The investors in Chicago are growing restless with my scattered focus. He muted the phone. It can wait. Can it really? Emma inquired softly. You've been balancing two realms for nearly 2 months now. Something has to yield eventually. That evening, they strolled through the partially renovated community center. The medical wing was coming together, featuring dedicated areas for the pediatric program Emma had envisioned. I never expressed my gratitude properly, Emma remarked, surveying the future clinic. For Lucas, for this space, for having faith in my proposal. There's no need for gratitude. I simply eliminated barriers. The vision belongs entirely to you. They found themselves at the gazebo in the town park, the very place where their lips first met. Autumn leaves danced in the air as they settled on the steps. I'm falling in love with you, James declared unexpectedly. I understand it's quick, and I realize you have uncertainties, but I want you to be clear about my feelings. Emma's breath hitched. James, there's no need for words. I just wanted it to be said. She gazed at him as the dusk settled around them. This man who had completely transformed her expectations. I'm falling too, she confessed. That's what frightens me. The following weeks were filled with a whirlwind of events. The renovation of the community center has now reached its midpoint. Emma brought James to meet her parents, who eyed him with cautious curiosity until he dedicated an afternoon to assisting her father with the repairs on his old truck. He's making an effort, her mother remarked, observing them from the kitchen window. I understand, Emma responded. That's what complicates everything. I find myself hoping he'll understand that small-town life can't fulfill him. In the meantime, James's business partners became more and more exasperated with his lack of focus. During a video conference, David finally confronted him. The Westridge deal requires your personal touch, James. These investors are unwavering in their commitment to finding the perfect fit. It's essential for you to be in Chicago next week. Please send me the files at your earliest convenience. I'll review them remotely. That's not good enough anymore, David countered. You've been acting like the local champion for months. The business is suffering. After the call, James gazed out the window of his temporary office, observing the daily rhythm of Oak Ridge. He had forged his enterprise from the ground up, giving up everything for its triumph. Was he truly willing to gamble everything at this moment? As they cooked dinner together in his rented house that evening, he brought up the topic with Emma. I have to head to Chicago next week, he remarked, slicing through the vegetables. Important investor meeting. Certainly, Emma responded, her gaze fixed on the sauce she was stirring. How long will you be gone? A few days, perhaps a week. He paused, uncertainty lingering in the air. David believes I ought to return for good. The spoon in Emma's hand paused. What are your thoughts? I believe it's time for me to discover a way to harmonize both aspects of my life. Emma finally met his gaze. James, we were both aware this moment would arrive. Your company can't be managed from this location indefinitely. However, I can reorganize elements and assign tasks more effectively. And your life in Chicago, the charity boards, the social obligations, the urban development projects you were so passionate about. James set down his knife. Are you attempting to persuade me to go? I'm just being practical, Emma replied. I've noticed the number of calls you handle and how late you stay to juggle both jobs. It's not feasible. So we just throw in the towel? Is that it? That's not my point. Emma switched off the stove. I received a call today from Boston Children's Hospital. They've offered me the pediatric oncology position I applied for 2 years ago, before I met you, before everything changed. James felt as if the ground had vanished beneath him. Boston, this is the job I've always dreamed of, James. An opportunity that transforms professional paths. When do you plan to begin? January, 8 weeks from now. They locked eyes over the kitchen island, the space between them feeling suddenly vast, far beyond mere feet. What does that mean for our situation? James finally inquired. I don't know, Emma admitted, but I think we both have decisions to make. James sat in his Chicago office, his gaze fixed on the contract that would secure the Westridge development, the most significant deal of his career. The skyline unfolded outside his windows, a symbol of dreams brought to life. After a week back in the city, one would expect everything to feel just as it should. It did not. 3 missed calls from Emma appeared on his phone. Since their discussion about Boston and Chicago, their words had been few, each hesitant to urge the other to abandon their aspirations. They had arrived at a standstill masquerading as a moment for contemplation. A sudden knock broke the silence of his contemplation. David stepped in, disregarding any need for a reply. The investors are waiting in the conference room, he remarked. This is it, James. The pinnacle of all our efforts. I understand. You don't look very excited, James pointed to the contract. This initiative will uproot 300 families for upscale condominiums, accompanied by substantial relocation assistance, David reminded him. That's just how it goes. We've been through this before. Perhaps that's the issue, David sighed, shutting the door. Is this regarding that nurse? What about the quaint little town? This moment has been 15 years in the making for you, James. Don't discard it in the throes of a midlife crisis. The words pierced through, resonating with an undeniable truth. Was he idealizing Oak Ridge, confusing novelty with significance? The investors won't wait forever, David remarked, making his way to the door. Neither will I. Left to his own thoughts, James reached for his phone and dialed the one person who had known him before success had shaped his identity. Michael, I seek your counsel. In Boston, Emma explored the shining pediatric oncology ward where she had been extended the offer for the director position. The facilities were cutting edge, and the research opportunities were unparalleled. We're very excited about your community-based approach, Dr. Levinson, the chief of medicine, remarked as they walked. Your proposal for the Oak Ridge Care Center was innovative. Thank you, Emma replied, striving to concentrate on the opportunity ahead, rather than the life she was about to leave behind. Naturally, your complete dedication is essential, Dr. Levinson went on. However, we could schedule quarterly visits to monitor satellite programs if that matters to you. Emma halted in her tracks. Satellite programs? Indeed. The rural pediatric care model you've developed has the potential to be implemented in communities across New England. We will initiate with the Oak Ridge pilot and broaden our efforts depending on the results. You wish to support the Oak Ridge Center as a research location? Dr. Levinson beamed. Ms. Collins, your proposal intrigued us specifically because it connects the realms of academic medicine and community care. We want both. For the first time in weeks, Emma sensed a lift in the heaviness that had settled on her chest. She was able to embrace both her aspirations and her roots. However, what about James? Just 3 days prior to Christmas, Oak Ridge celebrated the grand unveiling of its newly renovated community center. In spite of the heavy snowfall, the whole community gathered for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. The structure had undergone a remarkable transformation. Contemporary amenities nestled within the classic brick facade, just as James had assured. Emma lingered amidst the throng, her gaze sweeping over the sea of faces. James had not responded to her calls since their last discussion 2 weeks prior. The Boston position paperwork lay untouched on her kitchen table, the deadline approaching fast. Mayor Wilson, the father of Michael, approached the podium with purpose. "This center has been the soul of Oak Ridge for generations," he began. "When it was threatened with closure, we worried that a vital part of our community would vanish with it. Then one of our own came back." James emerged from the building, weary yet resolute. Emma's heart soared at the sight of him. James Bennett recognized opportunity in what others deemed deterioration, the mayor continued. He poured in not only his finances but also his time and foresight. Today marks not merely the unveiling of a structure, but the beginning of a fresh narrative for Oak Ridge. The crowd erupted in applause as James made the ceremonial cut of the ribbon. As the throng surged indoors to discover, Emma stood still, uncertain if she should make her way to him. James noticed her and approached, snow accumulating on his shoulders. "You returned," she remarked. "I never truly departed." He gazed at her with intensity. "We need to talk." They found a secluded spot in the new cafe area of the center. "I turned down the Westridge contract," James stated bluntly. Emma's eyes grew large. "James, that was your most significant achievement." "Indeed it was. I've reorganized the company instead. David is stepping into the role of CEO. I will transition to a chairman position, concentrating on community-centered development. Is that something you can handle?" "I started this company, Emma. I can reshape its meaning." He grasped her hands. "I've established 3 new offices in mid-sized towns, using Oak Ridge as the blueprint. While travel will be necessary, this will serve as my home base." "You're not leaving, are you? For good?" "Only if you decide to stay as well." Emma inhaled deeply. The situation with the Boston job has shifted. The Oak Ridge Pediatric Center is set to receive funding as part of a research pilot initiative. "I'd divide my time mainly here, occasionally there." James looked at her, then burst into laughter. "We've been grappling with this for weeks, and in the end, we both reached some compromises. We could have avoided so many sleepless nights if we just talked," Emma confessed. "I wanted to sort things out first, to ensure I wasn't making promises I couldn't uphold." The center buzzed with life around them, children discovering the new playground equipment, seniors appreciating the expanded library, and community members cherishing the space that was theirs to share. "I adore you, Emma Collins," James declared, "neither due to Oak Ridge nor in opposition to it, because you revealed to me the true essence of success, intertwining with something greater than oneself." Emma caressed his face. "I love you too, and I'm finished being afraid of what that entails." James reached into his pocket and retrieved a small velvet box. "I had an entire speech prepared, an elaborate dinner, everything you could imagine. James, as I sit here and reflect on what we've created together, it feels so right." He lifted the lid of the box to unveil a simple yet elegant diamond ring. "Will you be my wife, Emma? Help me create something meaningful." Tears welled in Emma's eyes as she agreed. "Yes." As James placed the ring on her finger, cheers erupted around them. They looked over to see Michael and Sarah, freshly back from a visit to her parents, grinning widely. "Finally!" Michael exclaimed. "I've been carrying that ring around for him for 3 days." Sarah embraced Emma warmly. "So you two are sticking around?" "Yes, both of us," Emma affirmed with a hint of adventure. As their friends showered them with congratulations, James drew Emma close, murmuring in her ear, "Who would have imagined a wedding could alter everything?" Emma beamed, recalling their initial, contentious encounter. The millionaire had merely wished to witness his friend's nuptials, but upon seeing the bridesmaid, Everything shifted, James concluded, kissing her as snow gently descended, enveloping Oak Ridge in a pristine white layer. It had been 2 years since the grand opening of the Oak Ridge Community Center. The warm spring afternoon enveloped James as he strolled through the town square, offering nods to the familiar faces he passed by. He continued to be amazed by the extent of change that had occurred in such a brief period. The lively main street, now a haven for pedestrians, thrived with rejuvenated local enterprises. The community center emerged as a benchmark for analogous initiatives across the region. Emma's pediatric care program has truly surpassed all expectations, attracting patients from surrounding counties and garnering professional interest from all over the nation. James glanced at his watch. He had arranged to meet Emma, Michael, and Sarah at the gazebo at 4 o'clock. This evening signified the third annual fundraiser for the pediatric center, yet his friends had been curiously adamant about gathering prior to the event. As he neared the gazebo, beautifully restored to its former splendor with vibrant paint and intricate latticework, he noticed them waiting. Emma faced away from him, her hair now cascading longer than when they first crossed paths, glinting in the sunlight as she chuckled at something Michael had remarked. "There he is," Sarah exclaimed, her eyes lighting up as she spotted him first. Her hand gently cradled her very pregnant belly, their first child expected to arrive in just 3 weeks. Emma turned, her face brightening in a way that still made James's heart race. After 18 months of marriage, that sensation hadn't faded. "You're late," she remarked, kissing him as he approached them. "Conference call with the Detroit project. The mayor there has concerns about the community involvement process." "And you told him to take a page from the Oak Ridge playbook?" Michael asked. "Something along those lines." James glanced between his companions. "What's this enigmatic gathering all about?" "The fundraiser isn't set to begin for hours." Michael and Sarah shared a knowing look. "There's something to share," Michael said. "We've chosen a name for the baby." "If it's a boy," Sarah continued, "Michael Wilson Jr., of course." "But if it's a girl," Michael said, "we'd like to name her Emma James Wilson." Emma gasped. "Really?" Sarah said, gesturing to her belly. "You two are the reason we have this. If James hadn't paid for our honeymoon—" "Too much information," James chuckled, raising a hand in jest. "It would be a privilege if you would accept the role of godparents," Michael added. "Both of you." Emma embraced Sarah gently, then Michael. "Absolutely, we will." As their friends made their way to the community center to oversee the fundraiser preparations, James and Emma stayed behind in the gazebo where they had shared their first kiss. "Do you recall the times when being in the same room with me was a challenge for you?" James playfully drew her nearer. "Recall the time you believed that success was defined by the amount in your bank account?" Emma tallied. James cast his gaze over the park, spotting Lucas, who was now in remission, enjoying a game of basketball with his friends. The tailored care program played a crucial role in his recovery. "I got fortunate," James confessed. "Encountered someone who revealed a clearer meaning." Emma leaned her head against his chest. "It hasn't all been straightforward. The journeys, the choices, juggling it all." Indeed, their life had discovered a cadence that embraced both their aspirations. James allocated his time between Oak Ridge and the community development projects, which had become central to his company's mission. Emma divided her weeks between the local pediatric center and her research oversight role with Boston Children's Hospital. They had transformed a historic home situated halfway between Oak Ridge and the city, crafting a space that seamlessly connected their contrasting lives. "Speaking of equilibrium," Emma remarked, taking a step back to observe him, "I have news as well." James lifted an eyebrow. "Additional enigmatic declarations." "I've been given the opportunity to broaden the pediatric program to 10 additional rural communities." "Emma, that's truly remarkable. It would entail increased travel next year, along with greater coordination between locations." James nodded. "We will find a way to make it happen." "We always do." Emma inhaled deeply. "There is additional information. I'll need to adjust the timeline because She took his hand and rested it softly against her stomach. "We're having a baby, James." For a brief moment, he was rendered speechless. Then, with a tender embrace, he lifted her off her feet, spinning her around gently. "When?" He ultimately succeeded. "November. I just confirmed it yesterday." Emma's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Are you happy?" "Happy is an understatement." James kissed her deeply. "When did you start to have your doubts?" "It was last week in Boston. I almost reached out to you immediately," she said. "But I wanted to be certain." She glanced up at him. "This alters the situation regarding the expansion. I'll have to postpone." "We'll find a way together," James interjected. "Like everything else." As the sun dipped below the horizon, they strolled hand in hand toward the community center, where the town was assembling to rally behind the program that had restored hope to countless children. From the windows, they observed Michael guiding volunteers, Sarah meticulously organizing photographs of patients who had recovered, and Lucas assisting younger children with a creative art project. 2 years ago, I never envisioned this, Emma remarked, taking a moment to absorb the surroundings. You, me, a baby on the way, the program assisting so many families. I did, James responded. Not the details perhaps, but that initial day when you guided me through the town. I glimpsed the potential for something profound, something enduring. Emma tightened her grip on his hand. The wealthy man simply wished to witness his friend's wedding. Yet upon catching sight of the bridesmaid, James completed the phrase that had turned into their shared jest. In that moment, everything shifted, and as they mingled with their community in joyous celebration, both understood that it had transformed for the better.